Hi, I'm Bali Rai. I'm the author of The Wolf Who Cried Boy, which is part of Colin's Big Cat Little Wandle Fluency series. Um, I'm not going to talk to you about this book in particular, but what I wanted to do was have a conversation about the a part of kind of the importance of diverse voices and kind of unheard voices that perhaps we don't think about as much as we should. There are many, many, many reasons why we need more diverse voices within books, within publishing, within the arts generally. Um, and often we talk about representation, we talk about people writing their own stories and their own voices and all of this other stuff, and that's all absolutely wonderful. Quite a few years ago now, I was involved with the initial setup of an organization called Empathy Lab UK, run by a bunch of amazing people. And we were talking about the idea that there's a deficit, so there's a shortage of empathy within society. I was involved in that from an early stage, and I started going into the classroom. I work with schools all the time, always happy to work with schools. I'd go into the classroom and I'd be talking about empathy, and I then started to write stories, historical fiction, a lot more historical fiction about these unheard voices. So just two or three examples: World War One, using one country in particular, so which I wrote about, or that I wrote about subjects from that country. So in World War One, 1.5 million Indians, British subjects in British India, took part on the side of Britain. In World War Two, it was 2.5 million Indians. A million, I believe, soldiers, maybe 1.5 million volunteers. Check those figures out. I can't remember which way around that was, but a lot of people, 2.5 million people, British subjects in British India who took part. We've also got, for example, the suffragettes. So behind, over my shoulder on the shelf on that side, there you go. That's the Royal Rebel. It's about a lady called Sophia Duleep Singh, who was a princess and also a suffragette, who was born and raised in England, was kind of an aristocrat, Queen Victoria's goddaughter, and also a very, very important suffragette whose story had also disappeared. It's obvious that it's important that we write about these people. But I started thinking more and more about empathy. So as I'm explaining why my historical fiction is the way it is, why my other fiction that I've been writing since 2001 or had published since 2001, every book I've ever written has diverse voices, has diverse characters, because I come from one of the most diverse cities anywhere. So Leicester, the city that I was born and raised in, is incredibly diverse. So as I was writing about the city, I'm automatically writing about the people I see, and they're from all kinds of different backgrounds. So how did I talk about that? Well, I was talking about the importance of it and all the rest of it. And then I started thinking about empathy. I said, and empathy, okay, when it comes to Remembrance Day, for example, so at school, I was taught World War One poetry. Now, I love World War One poetry. Like many people, I was incredibly moved by it, incredibly touched by it, and love it to this day. But we were only hearing the voices. We were only seeing the lives and hopes and dreams, whether they were destroyed or not, as in the hopes and dreams were dashed, of middle class and upper class white people who were educated, who had money, who could write, who'd been to school, okay, who saw the arts as something for them, something they could do. Yes, I can be a poet as well as a soldier, etc. So that's all wonderful, all absolutely brilliant. But then when it comes to Remembrance Day, those are the people that I was supposed to wear a poppy for. Those are the people that I empathize with. Those are the people that I felt a connection to, felt sorry for, whatever reason you get involved with Remembrance Day. What I'd never known then was, or I didn't know at the time, was that there were 1.5 million, for example, Indians, many other countries as well, but for this example, 1.5 million Indians that took part. So my empathy was for white British soldiers. The empathy, I hadn't gained any greater empathy for non-white British soldiers. So it was only later that I started learning about the roles of these empire troops that I began to gain a better understanding of them and who they were, and my own connection to those people based on my Indian heritage. So I wanted to incorporate that into the stories, and I think it became then part of it has become part of my kind of journey as a writer, if you like, in terms of my work with schools, where I'm now going in and I'm saying, well, hang on a minute, if all we ever hear about is middle class voices with the same social, cultural, moral frameworks, basically they all do the same thing, they think the same way, they have the same idea of what is right and what is wrong. we're missing out like loads and loads of people who don't fit that particular kind of category. How can that be right? And if we're only gaining empathy and sympathy for the same kinds of people from the same kinds of backgrounds, what happens to our empathy and our understanding and our sympathy for people who don't fit that? So I think that's probably, for me, one of the most important reasons we do need even more diverse voices, even more of an understanding of people who are not part of what we think is a mainstream. And I think that's something we don't think about enough. So for me, empathy is it's a human kind of attribute that we should all work on. It is a superpower, okay? And when we meet individuals that we've not met before, that's the best way to gain empathy for those people. We learn about them, they become our friends, we share food with them, etc., etc. But we're not always able to do that. For me, the second best way to improve our understanding of our fellow human beings and to gain more empathy for them is to meet them within the pages of a book. I don't think anything's as powerful. Anything else other than meeting them is as powerful as meeting them in the pages of a book. So if we're going to do that, and it's important because that kind of develops and strengthens our empathy, our understanding of those other people and their humanity. So they're no longer other people, they're just fellow human beings. If that's important, then we need to see more of those voices within the pages of books. And that's the reason that I do what I do. And I think it's the most powerful reason for wanting more diverse voices within books. So that's me. I'm Bali Rai. Little very quick chat about empathy. The book is The Wolf Who Cried Boy. It is available now. I hope if you read it, you enjoy it. But I'm going to stop babbling on now and say goodbye. Thanks. Bye.